And now, your weather authority. Sponsored by Red Pest Solutions, celebrating 70 years.
Well, good morning, South Mississippi. Starting mostly off camera here so we can enjoy this beautiful shot without me being in the way for at least a moment, which is looking pretty good out there as we look towards the west from our insured roofing camera and on top of the Golden Nugget, looking westward once again. You can see the flag there pointed inland as we've got a nice southerly breeze on the coastline, been bouncing between 5 to 10 miles per hour and expected to only increase slightly as we head into the afternoon. Much more calm winds further inland, and that is leading to at least a little mistiness, if not downright fog, which we are still seeing a dense fog advisory holding steady for Stone and George County for the next hour officially. It would not surprise me though if it's ended a little early, as we've had a nice little bar of fog pretty much right across this area here, getting all the way down into the red, quarter mile of visibility possible, but now we can already see that starting to break up. Visibility is going back towards maximum across the area, with only Bogalusa over there holding on to that too, and that will very likely update here in a moment. But it is still rather hazy out there, especially with all that sunshine we're seeing, just kind of capturing all that light and diffusing it out, making it look a little washed out if you're looking right into the sun. But humidity is starting to go up a little bit. We spent this morning in about the mid to upper 50s in most locations, now seeing more low 60s. You can see the green overlay there indicating where it's starting to get humid. And looking at the dew point, which is a pretty consistent measure of your moisture in your air, you can also use relative humidity, that percentage. That one swings a little bit more wildly. That's why I like to use these here, which a good indicator of that is 50s for your dew point is generally pretty comfortable. Once you start getting towards 60 and into the 60s, that's where it's about humid. Pretty standard for us here in South Mississippi, especially along the coastline. It gets muggy once you start adding it into the 70s, so we're nowhere near that, but certainly the humidity is rising, and as we cool off each night, we get closer to that dew point, bringing out those misty areas and eventually more foggy areas as we keep headed through the week. And that southerly wind will continue. Right now it's pretty light across the area. A lot of protected areas reporting zeros across the board, but that wind will steadily stick with us for the next couple of days, all the way through the end of the week and into the next, before we really see a significant shift in that when a front finally moves in, which will bring us some rain. It's not looking like it'll be enough to help us out with our persistent drought conditions we've been dealing with. Still a moderate to severe drought across the area. Now, if our air was drier and our wind was a little bit stronger, we may be seeing some of those red flag warnings, fire alert warnings, burn bans, things like that. I don't recommend burning in these conditions. If you absolutely must for whatever reason, I know there's some controlled burns out there. Keep a lot of attention on it because it is exceptionally dry out there, and while there's not much of a breeze, there is at least a little bit of one. So heading into today, well, a hazy morning will be behind us as we head into the afternoon and climb up to about 80 degrees with mostly sunny skies at worst. Periods where it'll be completely sunny out there with a sunny, hot afternoon ahead. Again, those winds coming out of the south and picking up more consistently about 10 miles per hour. So seeing more sun today. Yesterday we started a little bit more cloudy. Today we're starting clear and staying pretty clear. UV index now up to 10, meaning a burn can happen unprotected in about 12 minutes. So practice that sun safety. Remember to drink plenty of water and limit those peak UV hours from about noon to 2 if you can. After that, exposure does start to go down. Allergy impact, looking at the pollen, tree pollen still holding steady at very high, grass pollen falling back towards moderate at the start of the week, where it still is, though it still looks like it's trending up at the end of the week, so allergy sufferers prepare for that accordingly. Heading into the night, we'll keep those clear skies, areas of fog developing once again. Not going to be, it looks like, widespread or dense, still staying on the patchy side, but could be locally dense, so just be aware of that, especially those inland areas where it cools off just a touch more than we do on the waterfront. But even then, it'll start spreading this way if that humidity keeps rising. And that's all we're seeing is a steady southerly wind, weakening at times, strengthening at others as a low moves very nearby, bringing us a little bit more cloud cover for Thursday. But it's not until Friday night we can just barely see the front that's finally going to push into the area and finally dry things out, get rid of some of that moisture in the air coming up. But even that's not a big dramatic change. So looking at the AFS Groundwork 7-day forecast here, still very consistent with the temperatures. Bump them up overall by about a degree, taking us into the low, almost mid 80s by the end of the week with that fluctuating cloud cover. That does get more consistent as we head into the weekend, and that front closes in on us, bringing us our next chance of rain and finally drying things out, taking us out of the 60s and back into the 50s on the coastline for those morning lows.